Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into the Sovereign Path. So today I'm going to go over a topic that has been coming up several times in my coaching calls. I've seen some of this in the comments as well. And so we're basically kind of talking about this hierarchy when it comes to spirituality. The hierarchy of, earning your place for your true spiritual awakening, or needing to sort of get to the next rung on the ladder so that you have earned your birthright as your true consciousness to be able to expand and to learn and to grow. And if you don't, meet these next layers or levels, then somehow you are going to be stuck in wherever and you're not going to make it, and all of these sort of things. So we need to be really mindful of this narrative, right? We need to be really mindful, and we really need to feel into these sort of things with our own discernment, as I say, with your own discernment, with your own awareness. And like I keep saying, feeling the frequency and the vibration behind messages, right? Behind things that are coming up, not only from within us, but around us, right? The information that is coming up. And it's like having that, that vibrational resonance of feeling into for yourself. How does this feel, right? Does this feel like higher alignment? Does it feel like resonance? Does this feel like, my higher self speaking to me? Does this feel like higher guidance? Does it feel like it is in my true nature of what I am, as I am consciousness, right? As my true self experiencing the separation paradigm? Or does it feel out of resonance? Does it feel, vibrationally low on some level? Does it feel just like it doesn't really sit right somewhere within us, right? This is what I talk about a lot when I'm saying feel into the energy behind things. Feel into the resonance behind things. Does this feel chaotic? Does it feel like it's just like kind of all over the place and feeling like very just everywhere, and it's kind of throwing you around, and your mind and your ego is like grappling at all of these things, right? Does it feel like suddenly I am in sort of this position where I'm never going to be enough to ascend? It's a big one, right? Never going to be enough to ascend. I'm never going to make it to these new things, or how am I ever going to do all of these things to get through all of these ladders and to get through, all of these stations that I apparently need to get through in order to earn my birthright of ascension. Feel into that. Does that feel resonant for you, right? Does that feel like the higher self that is sort of saying like, okay, it's time to climb the next mountain now. You made it to this mountain, now you got to climb the next mountain over there in the distance. And, it's not a triathlon. But there's a lot of spiritual teaching out there that'll make you feel like in order to ascend, in order to go through a spiritual awakening, now you've enlisted into some sort of new triathlon, and you have to train to run the bike 50,000 miles, and then you have to swim across, the Atlantic Ocean, and, now you have to run, however many miles to be able to like earn your birthright of what you already are. The hierarchy of spirituality is a slippery slope. It's telling you that you are not already the I am presence. It's telling you that you're not already oneness. It's telling you that you are not already higher consciousness experiencing separation. Right? It's telling you that you still have to move through all of these gates and ladders and, whatever in order to earn what you already are. You are that. You are the I am presence. Nothing is missing from you. You do not have to get to all of these new places in order to earn your right to come back into the remembrance of what you are, what you've already always been, right? The quote says, we are not becoming, we are remembering, right? I just want to hit that home today in this video. Like I say, I've had a lot of questions about it, but above and beyond that, even if I didn't have a lot of questions about it, it's still something that needs to come through. You are sovereign. Right now, no matter how much shit that you may feel you're dealing with, no matter how many traumas may be coming up, no matter what's coming up for you, whatever it is, you are sovereign right now. You are the I am presence right now in this moment and in every moment. That is what you are. And you don't have to earn your right to be what you are, right? You don't have to suddenly feel like you're jumping through all of these hoops in order to get to your next place, in order to like earn the right to embody the oversoul, for example. You are the oversoul. You are the oversoul experiencing itself in millions of different ways and timelines all at once. I say this all the time. You are source experiencing itself in form all the time. All of us are. That's what we are. We are the I am presence, right? So regardless if we can get tripped up into the whole like, oh, well, we incarnate into the matrix and the matrix is hijacked and F, Y, Z and all of this sort of stuff, getting into all the rabbit holes and all of these sort of things. All of these are more loops. They're more loops, they're more traps, they're more ways to keep us feeling that or actually believing that, which is worse, actually believing that we are not already oneness, that we are not already union, that we are not already the I am presence, that the I am presence that is us is not experiencing separation, right? And that somehow since the I am presence that is us and has always been us, that is experiencing separation, now has to like dig our way out of the matrix, of the separation experience, of the trauma, of the karma, in order to earn our way back to what we already are, what we have always been, which is the I am presence. You know, again, it's this awareness of flipping all of these narratives on their head, right? And the thing is, you know, you fall back to, there's a reason that we're going through spiritual awakenings. There's a reason that we're going through spiritual awakenings en masse, right? Is everyone experiencing this? No, they aren't, because this isn't the evolution for all souls, but it's the evolution for a lot of souls. And there's no hierarchy in that. There's no hierarchy in saying that, well, since you're not awakening in this lifetime, then somehow maybe you fucking did it wrong, excuse my French, right? Maybe you haven't gotten to enough rungs on the ladder. And so that means you still have to deal in, you know, whatever world. This is all coming from the mind. It's all coming from the mind trying to make sense of something through the 3D lens and through whatever ego mechanisms and through whatever perceptions that the mind is operating at any given moment within this lifetime, right? We have to have just this like awareness all the time and this discernment all the time of, if we're removing these labels, right, in the 3D construct of separation consciousness, and if this is what awakening is about, is removing the separation constructs in the 3D matrix and awakening out of those, awakening out of separation, awakening back into the truth of what you are, what you have always been, then why now do we have all of these new labels and new constructs of saying that this is what you have to do to actually become spiritual? It's more separation. Now we're shifting out of the 3D matrix of separation, which is just what we've come here to experience. And now we have this new set of hierarchy labels that are saying, okay, well, you're shifting out of the 3D experience, you know, of separation consciousness. You're still experiencing the 3D, the 4D with the avatar, but we're shifting into 5D consciousness, right? So this is what we're doing. This is what a spiritual awakening is. This is what ascension is. And now we're saying, well, actually it's way more than that. Actually, you have to do all of these other things too, right? And so now it's saying like, we had separation in the 3D, And now we have new separation techniques and constructs and loops and labels and gates and shit that we have to go through in order to actually awaken. You just did awaken. You are awakening. If you're watching my channel, you're awakening, right? If you're watching most of higher consciousness, twin flame, channels, hopefully they're talking about awakening, because that's what this is, right? So if you're experiencing a twin flame dynamic, that means that you are going through a spiritual awakening. I say that in pretty much every video that I make, because that's what this path is. Which means you're shifting out of separation. And now, I've been having all of these questions, and I'm seeing all of these things sort of come across the radar of saying that that's not enough. You can't just shift out of separation consciousness. You can't just go through a spiritual awakening, have everything come up. You're clearing all of these things. You're transmuting your energy. You're transmuting the emotion. You're learning how to be the observer. You're learning how to come back into peace. You're remembering what you are, right? You're remembering what you are, and you're remembering how to walk the path of what you are and what you've always been, right? You come into these places of inner union and you feel what that is. And I work with a lot of people who are coming into inner union. It's a pretty amazing thing. And you feel what that is. You feel the truth of what you are. You come into the remembrance of the truth of what you are. And it's an actual vibratory resonance. It's an embodiment of the truth of what you are. It's the embodiment of the I am presence. You feel it. You feel it. You remember. And when you're in those places, the amount of gratitude and humility and humbleness and love and peace that just overwhelms you will bring you to tears, that you even for a second forgot that that's what you are. That's what you've always been. And so, as I said, I work with a lot of people that are going through this. And thank you to all of you guys in the comments that are mentioning that you're going through it as well. You feel this energy, right? You feel the vibration that is you. You feel your I am presence. And it's not just this fleeting thing. It's this knowing now. It's awareness of what you are. It's the awareness, your conscious awareness, the light of being of what you are that is now embodied, that you are just living through. You are living in, right? This isn't spiritual ego. It's not spiritual psychosis. It's what you are, and you will feel it, right? And so when you're in that place, and when you've experienced that, which I know a lot of people have, a ton of people have, more and more people are experiencing this, and then you see this other sort of, new modality, old modality, however, whatever modality that is saying, no, that's not it. That's not it. Now you have to go through this and this and this and all of these different layers, right? All of these different graphs, all of these different illustrations, all of these things are saying that you have all of these hierarchies, and now you're needing to move to the next one. And then you need to do all of these things in order to earn your birthright again. And then you need to do the next layer and all of these things that you need to earn this next, station of your soul, right? Of the higher soul that is you, right? The oversoul that is you, source is you. You have to keep earning all of these things in order to get to that next place of consciousness. That's called seeking. It's called running after something. It's called chasing. It's called not remembering that I am that, and I have nothing to do other than to remember that I am that, because I've always been that. Really feel into what this is. Spiritual awakening, ascension, is not meant to have you seeking for the rest of your life. It's not meant to have you chasing other labels and other modalities and other functionalities that are telling you that you have to do certain things in order to be what you are. You are sovereign. All of us are. We're just having experiences of separation. That's it. We're having experiences of separation for the growth of what we are, right? For the learning of what we are. For whatever reason, for what we are. We can debate that in other videos, right? But to align and then to perpetuate yet another narrative that is literally promoting separation and division, on the awakening path, which is literally about coming back into oneness and union and unity and remembering that you are the I am presence, that you've always been that you will always be that, right? That you are whole, you are sovereign, you are free. So when we're talking about having these, other sort of mechanics that are telling you you're not free unless you do these things, right? You're not sovereign unless you do those things, which will take you lifetimes apparently. And you're not whole unless you do these things. It's more division, it's more separation, and it's telling you that you are not it, that you're not the one. You are the one doing this. You are the one creating this, right? You're the one creating this experience as the higher self, as the oversoul, as source creation, as all that is, as the I am presence. We create constantly. That's what we do. We are creator beings. We are not limitless, or we are not limited beings. We're not limited beings. We take on limits so that we can experience what that framework feels like. I've said this in a ton of videos. What does it feel like to be limited? What does it feel like to be in separation? What does it feel like to be polarized? What does it feel like to be in duality? Well, let's go have the experience and see, right? That's what we're doing, right? And then this whole idea of, we have to do all of these things to excavate all of this stuff in order to, do just all of it, right? The purpose of the awakening and, the Kundalini specifically, which just literally rushes everything that you could have possibly imagined to the surface that was no longer serving you per the experience that you've had in separation, will show you real quick. You don't need to go seeking. You don't need to go climbing Mount Everest, right? You don't need to go doing all of these things that are telling you that you're ready in order to ascend now. The awakening is doing that. Ascension is an organic process. It's not something that you need to chase. We have tools. I have tools in my course. I have tools that I share with you guys on this channel. Other people are sharing tools on channels, right? It's about embodiment. It's about coming back into the heart space. It's about remembering. It's not about becoming. You already are that, right? It's about observing. It's about remembering that we're energy. It's about remembering how to transmute energy. It's about coming back into love. It's about coming back into union, which is what you are and what you've always been. So anything that is divisive of that, I've done several videos over the last 2 weeks about this kind of stuff. The division, the separation, the constructs. We have to remember that this is all oneness. It's all oneness. It's all oneness. That's where we come from. It's what we are, right? It's what creation is. It's oneness creating things all the time. Does it sometimes create experiences of separation? Yes, it does. Does it sometimes create experiences of suffering? Yes, it does. Why? Not to keep you there, because you as a soul, you as higher self, you as consciousness, right, haven't experienced that before. So in order for your growth, in order for your expansion, we do experience these things, but it's not to keep you in hell. It's not to keep you feeling like you have to keep climbing up the ladder for the, several lifetimes until you finally get to the thing. It's the belief systems that are keeping us in the loops, right? It's the identifications, it's the definitions, it's the labels. It's believing in the separation that keeps us there. We were never meant to believe in all of these things to the point that now we feel like we have to do all of this stuff in order to come out of it and to come back to what we are, right? All of that is mental constructs, and all of it is seeking, and it's chasing again. It's one of the big things that, if you're on a twin flame path, if you're on an awakening path, the awakening finds you, right? This isn't a mind game. It's not about ego. The mind and the ego seek They seek things, they search for things, they look for things because they feel incomplete, right? This is why you'll see spiritual seekers, that's what they've been doing their whole life, is seeking the awakening or seeking ascension and whatever else, right? True ascension, the true spiritual awakening finds you. You don't go looking for it. People do go looking for it, but it's why they never find it. It's why they never get there, because they're looking for it. They're seeking it. They're doing all of these things that are saying, as soon as I climb this next ladder and swim over that next lake, and bike up the next mountain, then maybe I'll get there. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll understand. Maybe it'll make sense to the mind. It's all mental at that point. It's all mental. This path, true spiritual awakening, is completely experiential, and it has nothing to do with the mind. The mind does not understand what this is. This is the biggest thing that I keep talking about. The mind doesn't understand it. But that's why when you're having spiritual awakening ascension symptoms, when you're experiencing energy, right? When you're seeing auras, when you're having psychic gifts coming along, when you're having clairvoyances, when you feel your higher self with you, right? When you feel all of these things that are unexplainable, that the mind can't explain, that the ego knows that it didn't create, that's when the mind starts to quell, because the mind can get on board with experience, which is one of the reasons why it's so important that you understand that this is a spiritual awakening, this path. And that if your mind keeps going round and round in loops, trying to figure all of this stuff out, but it's not actually experiencing it, then it's going to still continue to seek those things. It's going to continue to seek all the explanations, right? And all the things that make sense to the mind, because that's as far as it can get itself. Whereas the spiritual awakening is purely experiential. It's purely energetic. It's not something the mind can explain. It's not something the mind created. It's not something the ego created, and it's not something that the ego can understand. But again, when the ego keeps experiencing this energy, right? When the mind keeps feeling this, that it knows it didn't control, that's when eventually it will start to ebb down, because it can't understand it mentally, but it can feel it. This is the importance of embodiment, right? This is why embodiment is such a big deal, right? When you're going through ascension, when you're going through awakening, it's because, I can explain things of like what awakening looks like, all of these things that will be happening, right? But if you're not feeling it, right? If it's not experiential and you're feeling the energy that you are, then, it'll never really make sense. And so the mind will still be looking for all of these sort of things that it needs to do in order to reach that next goal. You don't need to do anything to reach a goal in order to tell you that you're worthy of ascension, right? We're not trying to get to next places on this path. I talk about inner union a lot. I talk about neutrality a lot, right? I talk about sometimes the stages that you go through on a spiritual awakening, but these are being led and guided by the higher self that is you. These are organic processes that just simply happen. They aren't things that you're going, okay, well now I'm ready to experience ego death, so let's do it, right? Now I'm ready to experience neutrality, and so the mind is deciding that that's what we're going to do. The mind doesn't decide to awaken. The ego does not decide to awaken. The higher self that is you decides to awaken. Before it incarnates into any lifetime, it decides when it's going to awaken out of the dream of separation and division and all of these things that are telling you that you have to do all of this stuff in order to earn the birthright of your own I am presence. You don't. That doesn't even exist. It's not real. It's another illusion. And they're all over the place, They're all over the place. And when we're experiencing a twin flame dynamic, it's easy to fall into those things. I get it. I understand that. it's easy to fall into that stuff and to feel like, well, now I have basically like a checklist of things. So this makes sense to me, right? It makes sense to the mind. And I work with a lot of clients that are this way as well, who, you know, are very mental. And so things really make sense to them in regard to that, like the graphs and the illustrations and the checklists and all of those things. But inevitably, they break out of it. They break out of it because the mind can only take you so far on this path. And that's a lot of times when people really start to have breakthroughs, is when they start to, like, it's not even understand, it's the inner standing, right? Because when you're truly going through an awakening path and the mind continues to say this and this and this, and you're trying to understand all these things and all the hierarchies and the levels and layers and all of these things and how everything works inside and out, and you have to do all of these things, right? It's fine to look at how everything plays out in regard to, you know, how the soul operates, what the soul does, whatever, it's fine. But when we're saying that you're not good enough until you reach this next rung on the ladder to ascend, or you need to do all of these things in order to be worthy of your own birthright of the I am presence that is you, then again, we have shifted into a whole nother paradigm of something that this is not. And so, as I said, I work with a lot of people who get to the point where their mind and their trying to understand all of these things, you know, and they get super, super, super frustrated. And then inevitably the higher self, if they're truly on the path, the higher self will bring in this massive experiential experience for them that will be purely energetic. They will be able to actually feel it. It's when you actually feel what's going on that is dictated, orchestrated, led organically by the higher self, that you will start to get that all of these mental constructs that we keep hearing and that I keep having questions about are, again, they're not being led by the higher self, they're being led by the mind. They're being led by the mind, and the mind wanting to feel like it has other goals and aspirations that it needs to achieve in order to reach enlightenment, right? In order to reach something, which again still means it's the mind that's chasing. It's the mind that's in the forefront and thinking that it is the one that's ascending, and it's the one that's getting these things, and it's the one that's going through the spiritual awakening. This is an organic process. It's purely energetic. And your higher self, who is you, is leading it. And the higher self, who is you, is not leading you to information that is telling you that now you have to do all of these things and jump through all of these loops and jump through all of these, you know, hoops and turn yourself inside out and bend yourself into like 1,000 different, you know, shapes and patterns in order to come back into the remembrance of what you have always been, what you always are, which is oneness. The higher self is saying, drop the beliefs. Drop the beliefs, right? Drop the things that you are aligning to that are keeping you in suffering. Drop the separation that is keeping you in suffering. That's what the higher self is saying. That's why you have all of these things that are coming up that are relentlessly saying, clear me, let me go, right? When we're feeling all these heavy density energies and all of these pains and, you know, all of this stuff, and it's just the energy wanting for you to let it go. It doesn't want for you to hold on to it forever and replay it in the past and the future, and what is this and what is that, and now I have to do this next thing in order to get to this next thing. You know, like, I understand there are moments on this path, especially when we're going through ego death, that it can feel like that. But the reason that it feels like that is because the ego death is literally dismantling all of those things that have you in separation, that you've been aligning to and identifying with, and all of those sort of things. And so when we're losing what we feel that we've been defining ourselves as and labeling ourselves as per separation, it feels damn uncomfortable, right? It feels super, super uncomfortable. But the more you shift, and you will, because you don't have a choice, because you as the mind is not guiding this, you as the mind is not seeking this. You as the mind, you might have tried to seek awakening, but you'll find if you seek it, it never comes. If you're awakening, as I said, it's an organic process that was led by the higher self and will continue to be led by the higher self, which is why you'll eventually come into neutrality, because that's also led by the higher self. It's not because you as the mind is trying to get there. You might be trying to get there through the mind because you get frustrated, but it's not the mind that's going to get you there. It's not understanding how this works that's going to get you there. It's the organic process that's going to get you there. And we have some tools that assist to make it not so damn painful as you get there. But it's not a hierarchy that you need to get there. Inner union isn't some hierarchy next level that you're trying to gain. It's what you are. The awakening path is literally shedding off what you're not, right? I said this in a couple of my other videos, right? Basically what we're experiencing is the amnesic state and all the masks and the veils that we have had to experience in order to have separation constructs, in order to experience separation and division. So in order to do that, well, let's put up all of these veils and all of these things that I can't see through. But if you're, conscious coming into this lifetime, which a lot of people are, you're like, but it just doesn't really feel right here. Something feels a little off here. Something feels a little weird. It's because you come from oneness and you descend into separation and you're feeling like a black sheep. I'm on the outside looking in. Nothing ever really seems to add up. Earth seems like a little bit weird. Doesn't really feel like it's very aligned to me in some way. Most people who go through spiritual awakening will have had those experiences before experiencing the spiritual awakening. But again, those are our experiences that we're having. And the organic process is shifting you out back into the I am presence. It's just the veils that are breaking down, right? It's all of the masks and the things that we had to use in order to experience this. Ego death breaks those down. Ego death breaks through the veils. It breaks through the masks. It breaks through the identities. It breaks through the labels and the definitions and the things that we had to become accustomed to in order to experience the 3D reality. All the awakening does is it removes them. The higher self is removing them, right? That's what ego death is. It feels like hell because we have been accustomed to feeling, our way through separation for so long that when separation starts to fade, right, and fail, this is when we get in those places of neutrality and people get on the call with me and they're like, I don't know what this is, but it feels better, but it feels weird. And what's really going on here, right? Neutrality and the void. People are like, what is this, right? You're shifting back into the oneness that you are without all the division and without all the separation, right? Spiritual awakening is just taking away what you're not and exposing what you are, what you've always been, right? You don't have to jump through all the hoops and the ladders to do that. It's organic, right? It is an organic process. So hopefully that makes sense, guys. Hopefully that, hopefully that brings some resonance into, the thing is that right now we are having a tremendous amount of different streams of thought, for lack of a better way of saying that, streams in which the awakening process is taking, right? Different avenues that the awakening process seems to be fissuring off on, right? Different directions that it seems to be going. And we just need to have that higher awareness. And as I said, really feel into the energy behind things and really be using your discernment in regard to this is an ancient process awakening. It's not new. You've been doing this forever, right? You do it all the time. You as the I am presence is experiencing several timelines all at once. You are a multidimensional being. This is just one of them. And so just, feel into that awareness. There's nothing that you have to do to earn the birthright of the oneness and the I am presence that you are. All we're doing is removing what we're not. and which only means that we're removing the experience that we had of separation. It doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, that it was ever a bad thing. It means that that was our experience, and we fully aligned to that and believed it because we were experiencing it, right? The awakening and the ascension is the same in that way. You will be experiencing it. You will be feeling it. You will know that this is what you are moving through, right? You will know that you are being led by the higher self that is you. You will feel the embodiment within you, right? You will feel the consciousness that is you within you in this 3D avatar, having this experience, but you will be moving from unity consciousness, right? This is the embodiment, right? This is the heaven on earth, all of those things that you hear. So hopefully that makes sense. And yeah, I just want to really drive that home, because it's very important that we stay in the awareness that, as I said, you are not becoming anything, right? You are that. You don't have to become it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to earn unity. You don't have to earn higher consciousness. You don't have to earn ascension. You don't have to earn the awakening. You don't. It's what you are. It's what you've always been. Now you're just waking back up to what you've always been. Right? So that's what I have for you guys. That one went over. So I hope that that assists some of you guys. I say that with all the love in my heart, because I know that there are people who are kind of going round and round right now. And so I really hope that this potentially brings you some peace, because that's what this path is. It's about bringing you back into peace. It's not about causing more pain or more division or more separation and feeling like you gotta run through more loops and, hurdles and marathons and all kind of stuff. This is about bringing you back to love. It's about bringing you back to peace. So if that's not what you're like moving towards and you're starting to feel, then really have the awareness of, maybe this avenue that potentially I'm taking isn't leading me into a peaceful, loving inner state of what I already am. So I hope you guys have an awesome day.